Yeah, I mean, if you want to get into some touchscreen technology, how about the smart charging case, clear sound? These are not standard things. You're only going to get them with the JBL Tour Pro 3, baby.
And I love the sound of JBL when it goes boom, boom. These earbuds are packed with innovation because you can't stand out by following others.
Touchscreen smart charging case for one-touch control, instant EQ customization, true adaptive noise canceling, and the one-of-a-kind audio transmitter, which can plug and play with everything from game consoles to in-flight entertainment. What more could you want? First doesn't follow. Grab a pair at jbl.com.
Welcome to the iHeartRadio and Coast to Coast AM Paranormal Podcast Network. Now get ready for Strange Things with Joshua P. Warren.
Welcome to our podcast. Please be aware the thoughts and opinions expressed by the host are their thoughts and opinions only and do not reflect those of iHeartMedia, iHeartRadio, Coast to Coast AM, employees of Premier Networks, or their sponsors and associates. We would like to encourage you to do your own research and discover the subject matter for yourself.
I'm Joshua P. Warren, and I'm in the field on a secret mission right now. You'll hear all about it when I get back. But for now, please enjoy this best of edition of Strange Things. Get ready to be amazed by the Wizard of Weird. This is Strange Things with Joshua P. Warren. I am Joshua P. Warren, and each week on this show, I'll be bringing you brand new, mind-blowing content, news, exercises, and weird experiments you can do at home, and a lot more. On this edition of the show, the Dark Forest Hypothesis. Plus, 3 things you can do to easily turn your bad luck into good luck. Yes, we're going to get into that later. Everybody needs some new tips from time to time, and, well, these are some good ones. But first, the Dark Forest Hypothesis. Sounds spooky, huh? Some of you probably know what this is. I bet many of you do not. I did one of these shows, let's see, it was episode 133 of this podcast called Strange Things, that was called Where Are the Aliens? I also, by the way, introduced my Aztec death whistle on that episode 133. But the big topic, where are the aliens? And I kind of dug into how to reconcile something like the Drake equation with the Fermi paradox. I'm not going to get all into that again. You can go back and listen. But basically, just to recap, the Drake equation is this equation formulated in 1961. This astrophysicist named Frank Drake, and he was calculating all the information that we have about all the things that exist out there. Likelihood of, well, an alien civilization, an intelligent alien civilization being out there, what that likelihood was. And basically, you know, without getting into the math, and I don't think the average person can understand it, by crunching all the numbers about, you know, the Goldilocks zones and just all these variables, basically he came up with this result that it appears there should be thousands of intelligent alien civilizations which may currently exist. And of course, even though that makes it on paper, it takes us to what so many people refer to as the Fermi paradox. And the Fermi paradox is this discrepancy between the lack of conclusive evidence of advanced extraterrestrial life and the apparently high likelihood of its existence. And apparently this goes back to a meeting that Fermi was having, sort of a casual conversation in the summer of 1950 with some other physicists. And while walking to lunch, the men discussed recent UFO reports and the possibility of faster than light travel. And apparently the guys were kind of open-minded to the fact that this statistically should be the case because the universe is so big that it's possible. But then at one point Fermi blurted out, "But where is everybody?" And coming that question, that one sentence coming from a physicist of that stature, went down in history as a paradox. Books have been written about it. Where is everybody? And I won't get into, again, all the reasons. I went deeper into this in episode 133. But, obviously, one of the most likely explanations is that the universe is just so huge. Everything's just spread too far apart. I mean, you can't imagine how huge the universe is, and we just can't find each other, or we don't have the technology to reach each other. That's probably the simplest one. But then there are some other really interesting ones that I think are especially thought-provoking, such as the fact that, you and I, we measure life pretty much in terms of a human lifetime. So you might say, okay, human life is in the neighborhood of 70 to 100 years right now. And so we have a tendency to break our lives up into, days and weeks and months leading up to this, this span of years that we consider a life. But that is irrelevant when it comes to time in the cosmos. And so it may just be that it's very unlikely for two civilizations to have matured at the same time so that they can communicate with each other. You're talking about some incredible synchronicity that these civilizations, they thrive, but they are billions of years apart when they rise and fall, and it just doesn't match up. This is seriously something that many books have been written about, so I'm not going to try to dig into all the options here in this podcast. But this is, from a scientific point of view, this is the question. And in my podcast called Where Are the Aliens?, the point of that one was the evidence that I have found to suggest that many of these UFOs, UAP, these types of beings, they tend to be seen around the water, around shorelines, and including going in and out of the water. This happens all the time. And so I would say there's a higher likelihood that whatever these things are and whoever these beings are, there's a higher likelihood that they are spending more time in the oceans of the world than they are flying around in outer space up above us. I mean, space, from what we can tell, seems to be a pretty dead zone compared to the oceans, which are absolutely overwhelmingly full of and teeming with life. And not only life, but some of the most bizarre forms of life that you can imagine. So it would make sense that, it's an easier stretch logically to say that these beings are living in that environment, in the aquatic environment, and that does not mean they cannot fly up into the sky and travel in that realm occasionally as well, but that maybe that's where they are more often than not. And it's kind of interesting because as I was doing prep for this show, this article popped up here at Fox News, and the headline is, "Only one type of alien life form could make it to Earth's doorstep." This is from a Harvard expert. It says, "Biological creatures would unlikely survive journey to Earth," says astrophysicist Avi Loeb. And I'll just read the beginning here. It says, "A renowned astrophysicist is calling foul on reports of alien sightings in Earth's atmosphere, arguing that biological creatures would be unable to survive a journey to our planet. Quote, it would take about 1 billion years to cross from one side of the Milky Way galaxy to the other," Avi Loeb, a Harvard astrophysicist, said during an appearance on GB News this week. "Quote, given that, I don't think any spacecraft that would arrive to us from another star would carry biological creatures." And so I think that basically if I got the point here, he's saying that, it's more likely if they are autonomous, they have an artificial brain, artificial intelligence. We have already developed that on Earth. We haven't launched it to space, but that would be the next step. End quote. You know what? I have to agree. There's something to that. I have talked about these things I call OUFOs, but that stands for organic UFO. But really, what I'm talking about is some of these things that may be like artificial intelligence that do have an organic body and a shape-shifting ability. That these things flying around us are not always just so black and white as being animate or inanimate or organic or inorganic. And so I tend to think that there is a sound logic there. And so when we start thinking about this, and we start looking into reconciling, all these beings are statistically, supposedly, possibly around us. Where are they? When I talked about that in episode 133, I started getting some messages from people saying, "Well, what do you think about the dark forest hypothesis?" And I was aware of it, but I don't think I've ever really sat down and talked about it in particular on this podcast. So let me explain to you what the dark forest hypothesis is. As a matter of fact, let's take our break first. because I want to dig into this, and it is spooky, it is eerie, it is unsettling if you really think about the implications of this thing called the dark forest hypothesis, because it applies not only to the concept of quote-unquote, aliens flying around out there, but maybe other phenomena that we often consider supernatural, paranormal, maybe interdimensional, all that kind of stuff. Some good news, as I record this particular podcast, we are currently accepting requests for customized, personalized sigils. We go through phases. We'll accept requests for a while, and then we'll have to shut them off, but we are available right now to make you a personalized, customized sigil. If you go right now to thesigillab.com, sigil is spelled S-I-G-I-L, thesigillab.com, and you'll see the information there. We're not doing business sigils for now. Of course, the website needs to be updated because it still says something about holiday sigils, but those are sold out long ago, of course. But you can get a personalized sigil. Also, if you listen to this show, do yourself a favor, okay? Go to my personal website, joshuapwarren.com. Sign up for the free e-newsletter right there on the page. And it'll take you 2 seconds. When you do that, then you will instantly receive an email from me with some links to free online goodies, joshuapwarren.com. That's me, Joshua P. Warren, and you are listening to Strange Things on the iHeartRadio and Coast to Coast AM Paranormal Podcast Network. And I will be right back.
This labor goodbye to spills, stains, and overpriced furniture with WashableSofas.com, featuring eBay, the only machine washable sofa inside and out, where designer quality meets budget-friendly pricing. Sofas start at just $6.99, making it the perfect time to upgrade your space. Anabe's pet-friendly, stain-resistant, and interchangeable slip covers are made with high-performance fabric built for real life. You'll love the cloud-like comfort of hypoallergenic, high-resilience foam that never needs fluffing, and a durable steel frame that stands the test of time. With modular pieces, you can rearrange anytime. It's a sofa that adapts to your life. Now through Labor Day, get up to 60% off site-wide at WashableSofas.com. Every order comes with a 30-day satisfaction guarantee. If you're not in love, send it back for a full refund. No return shipping, no restocking fees, every penny back. Shop now at WashableSofas.com. Offers are subject to change and certain restrictions may apply.
Homes.com has collaboration tools to help home shoppers search, share, and discuss home shopping with family, friends, and their agent directly through the site. Though it was fun to get that email from your husband about that 3-bedroom in the hills, to which you replied via text that you would never live in the hills and you'd like to find a 3-bedroom closer to the beach. To which he replied, "Why are you so uncompromising?" A fun way to spend an afternoon, but we think it's just a tad bit easier our way. Homes.com. We've done your homework.
Good morning. Welcome to Today.
From back to school to tackling your to-do list, the Today Show is your best start to the day. It's a new season, and every morning we're here to help you take it all along. As the forecast called for football all across the country, blockbuster stars, live concert, and so much more. Wake up to where it's all happening.
We're getting back to all of it. The best way to start is together.
Watch the Today Show weekday morning.
Get a little out there. It's the big heart of Nevada, where you can go off-road and off the map, on 2 lakes, or on horseback, dip into hot springs and dive into deserts, climb a mountain, or make your best effort. See thousands of stars in some of the darkest skies, stake out haunted hotels. Can you make it to sunrise? There's always something new, because we've got plenty of space to just be. Plan your trip at travelnevada.com.
This is Matt Yang from Las Culturistas with Matt Rogers and Bowen Yang.
JBL Tour Pro 3 earbuds are for those who don't conform to the standard.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to get into some touchscreen technology, how about the smart charging case, clear sound? These are not standard things. You're only going to get them with the JBL Tour Pro 3, baby.
And I love the sound of JBL when it goes boom, boom. These earbuds are packed with innovation because you can't stand out by following others.
Touchscreen smart charging case for one-touch control, instant EQ customization, true adaptive noise canceling, and the one-of-a-kind transmitter, which can plug and play with everything from game consoles to in-flight entertainment.
The audio transmitter also allows for JBL Spatial 360 sound that takes any audio and turns into a 360 immersive experience.
More could you want? First doesn't follow. Grab a pair at jbl.com.
On the iHeartRadio and Coast to Coast AM Paranormal Podcast Network. I am your host, the Wizard of Weird, Joshua B. Warren, beaming into your wormhole brain from my studio in Sin City, Las Vegas, Nevada, where every day is golden and every night is silver. Agitato Sume. And last year in 2023, I made the Electrum Ring available as a special one-time batch made by the world's greatest artisan right here in the United States of America. And I only, he was only able to make a limited amount. And I cannot tell you how many emails I've gotten from people since then. Oh my gosh, I can't believe that I missed this. I didn't know about it. Please, how do I get one? A lot of other people saying, I bought one, now I want another one. I want to give one to my wife. I want to give one to my kid. So I am talking right now with artists to see if he will make one more batch, because you have to understand this man actually smelts the metal, okay? I mean, he gets the stuff and melts it down, and like these are hand hammered in a professional workshop. Everyone is unique. It's custom made to your size. There are no two alike. It's a real electric ring, and so I think we're going to be able to work this out to do one more bet. But I'm just going to that the only way I will be announcing it will be through my e-newsletter. And that's because that, I might mention it on this podcast, but it doesn't mean that it'll time out right, because we have these limited windows when he makes them. And the podcast, you never know exactly when it's going to get posted. So basically, here's the bottom line. If you want to get dibs, I'll make the sales available if possible for, I'll say you got 2 or 3 days if you want to get one from this last batch. Go to joshuapwarren.com, sign up for my free e-newsletter on the homepage there if you want to be notified immediately when the Electrum Ring is available again. I'm hoping it will be sometime in February of 2024. Let's get back to the dark forest hypothesis. Now, of course, I've been talking about this idea that, if science tells us statistically there ought to be the possibility of intelligent life all over the place. Well, where is everybody? If we dig into that question, that Fermi paradox, some folks bring up what is called the dark hypothesis. And first off, let me read to you what it says here at Wikipedia. The dark forest hypothesis is the conjecture alien civilizations exist throughout the universe, but they are both silent and hostile, maintaining their undetectability by humanity for fear of being destroyed by another hostile and undetected civilization. In this framing, it is presumed that any space-faring civilization would view any other intelligent life as an inevitable threat, and thus destroy any nascent life that makes itself known. As a result, the electromagnetic spectrum would be relatively quiet, without evidence of any intelligent alien life, as in a dark forest filled with armed hunters stalking through the trees like ghosts. Okay, for a bit more description, I found this article about this topic at bigthink.com, written by Scotty Hendricks. And I'll just read a couple little passages. The Milky Way galaxy has 200 billion stars and perhaps 100 billion planets. And even a small fraction of those planets harbored life. And even a scattering of those planets had life forms which became intelligent. Our galaxy would be teeming with alien civilizations. Okay. Then, of course, we reflect back on the Drake equation and all that. And he says here, many of the solutions aim at one of the variables in the Drake equation and try to make the supposed number of civilizations lower, blah, blah, blah. But this is the dark forest solution, which explains why we have not heard from aliens, because they are purposefully keeping quiet. The reasoning is laid out in the science fiction novel The Dark Forest by Liu Cixin. I guess that's how it's pronounced, C-I-X-I-N. The plot of the book, the second in a series, concerns questions of how to best interact with potentially hostile alien life. So the argument's laid out like, all life desires to stay alive. There is no way to know if other life forms can or will destroy you if given a chance. And that lacking assurances, the safest option for any species is to annihilate other life forms before they have a chance to do the same. So this all leads to this radio silence. And in fact, here's a paragraph from the actual novel. Quote, "The universe is a dark forest. Every civilization is an armed hunter stalking through the trees like a ghost, gently pushing aside branches that block the path and trying to tread without sound. Even breathing is done with care. The hunter has to be careful because everywhere in the forest are stealthy hunters like him. If he finds another life, another hunter, angel or a demon, a delicate infant, a tottering old man, a fairy or a demigod, there's only one thing he can do: open fire and eliminate them." Okay, so I think you get the idea. The hypothesis here is that maybe
This is where I say goodbye.